Good morning, dear students. In the previous class, we completed the Lost Spring part 2. That is, I want to become a motor mechanic. I want to drive a car, which was the beginning of the lesson, the title of the lesson, the story of Mukesh and a minor character, Savita. So these two children who work as child laborers and they have their dreams, we discussed, and how their dreams have been shattered and the baggage is put on these children. Today we are going to do the question answers, and we are going to discuss to write article on child labor. But before we move on to the other things, we'll discuss the NCRT question answers. Let me share the screen with you. Yes, the first question, if we see from our NCRT book, I hope you can see the screen. The first question in our NCRT book is, what could be some of the reasons for the migration of people from villages to cities? The reasons are quite clear, that lack of employment, poverty, as Sahib himself said that his mother had told him that their fields were not capable enough to give them a meal per day. So they left those green fields of Dhaka and settled in Delhi, in Simapuri. So the reasons behind migration of people from one place to another is poverty, unemployment, lack of work, right? So let's move on to the next question. Would you agree that promises made to poor children are rarely kept? They are, of course, rarely managed and kept. Though we have schemes and programs and abhiyans for the education of the students, right to education, right to expression, right to speech, and so many other things, but yet the promises that are in abundance for children are rarely kept. Right? Why do you think this happens in the incidents narrated in the text? Many promises here in the text. If we refer to the text, Anis Jung made many promises to even Sahib, that when I'll open one, you can come to the school, and do you go to school? So giving him, symbolizing some hope of school, but there's no mention in the lesson even that whether she opened the school or not, or she admitted. She has discussed the plight of these children, but she has also simultaneously by the side has also brought the grim side, the dark side of the world, of the country, that these promises are never kept, right? And the incidents of Mukesh and Sahib do tell us that, affirm us, confirm us that these promises are never kept. What forces conspire, to keep the workers in the Bengal industry of Firozabad in poverty? The word poverty itself is the answer. They are poverty stricken, and moreover, they cannot leave, because whenever they have raised their voices against, they have been unvoiced, and they have been dragged and hauled up by the police for raising their voices, right? So now, when we move on to the next, talking about the text, how in your opinion can Mukesh realize his dream? Mukesh can very nicely, in fact he realizes his dream that he wants to become a motor mechanic. But the thing is whether he'll get chances to fulfill his dream or not, right? Because he is surrounded in a cobweb of troubles, poverty, problems, and a responsibility even to earn for his family, right? So mention the hazards of working in glass bangles industry. Now this working in these industries is quite hazardous, as well as quite dangerous, perilsome, and if we see they work, if we refer to the text, we find out, or we come to understand, we learn that the children, before they become adults, they lose their eyesight. Moreover, their ability to dream, mind numbing toil, snatches their ability to dream. They're not able to dream further like Mukesh has his dream. So it is a hopeful part in the lesson discussed by Anis Jung. But all children do not dare to dream like Mukesh. So working in glass bangle industry snatches their time. Their daylight hours are slogged into those industries. The second point which we can mention in this answer is they suffer from ailments, diseases, health disasters, and they even lose their eyesight before they become adult, and they're more adjusted to darkness than to light. Why should child labor be eliminated and how? Now this article will work. We'll write this as a descriptive question also, so you all have to do these 4 5 questions in the notebook, and the last question as an article writing, not as a question and answer in answer form. You have to give your article a suitable heading, for which we have developed some content based on the lesson, and some more we'll develop while moving on through this class and journeying through this session, right? So why should, first of all, let us discuss why should child labor be eliminated. First of all, the very first and important reason that child labor should be eliminated, because it is an evil. It is a social evil that curbs the childhood. The childhood of a child is the most pristine, pure, beautiful period when he is to learn and go to school and enjoy nature. He is curbed, he is deprived, devoid of that pleasure. Secondly, why children should be made to work in industries. It should be eliminated because they are exploited at a meager amount, and they are made to work like adults. They are paid not even 1/4, 1/10, but they are made to work like adults. How can we eliminate? By creating awareness, by realizing our responsibility, by exhibiting a true spirit of citizenship, by not employing them in our factories, in our industry, and also raising our voice and fighting for the cause if we find. So let us move further. Uh, Carefully read the following phrases and sentences taken from the text. Can you identify the literary device in each example? What we are going to do is we are going to find out which figure of speech, literary device is used in these situations, in these lines, in these sentences. So take your pencil in your hand and take out page number 21 in your book. Sahib-e-Alam, which means the Lord of the universe, is directly in contrast to what Sahib is in reality. Now, this is quite ironical situation that Sahib-e-Alam is the name of the boy Sahib, but is he the Lord of universe? Certainly not. So irony, you can make out opposite of the meaning and the situation, right? I hope you have understood that irony is there in this first situation. Drowned in an air of desolation, air of desolation. So we are making here assumption. And when we assume and compare this way, it is metaphor. So air of desolation, right, is metaphor. Simapuri, a place in the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it metaphorically. So in this third situation, it is antithesis. Now, what is antithesis? Strong contrasting idea is being reflected here. What strong contrasting situation is reflected here is Simapuri is in the outskirts, but on the edges of Delhi. So nearby to Delhi, maybe in the outskirts or in the nearby the boundaries of Delhi. But in terms of progress, it is very far, miles away from it. So periphery and miles away, two contradictory ideas have been expressed in one situation in these lines. Now, so you can mention antithesis. For the children, it is wrapped in wonder. For the elders, it is a means of survival. Now, garbage for children is wonder, and for elders, it is survival. Two different, distinct situations. For one group, it is a pleasure, surprising pleasure. They find something or the other. But for elders, when they find something, it is to run their families, livelihood and all. So means of survival. Again, antithesis, two contradictory, different opposites have been expressed here. So antithesis. Now, as her hands move mechanically like the tongs of the machine. So like the tongs of machine itself tells us that there is simile in the lines. She still has bangles on her wrist, but not light in her eyes. Now this sixth one is, you can say, the figure of speech here is, she still has bangles on her wrist but not light in her eyes. That is, it is the pun, right? So she has bangles on her wrist and but not light in her eyes. So we can discuss that this what is pun. Pun is playful use of words with different meanings, right? Few aeroplanes fly over Firozabad. This is also the example of pun. When we say few aeroplanes fly over Firozabad, Firozabad is an economically backward place. That tells there are no aeroplanes that fly on in the above Firozabad in the sky. So this is pun. Web of poverty. Now this is eighth one, and this is metaphor. And scrounging for gold. Gold here is assumed as, you can say, gold here is assumed as garbage here is assumed as gold. So this is metaphor. And survival in Simapuri means rag picking. Through the years, it has acquired the proportions of a fine art. Now, and survival in Simapuri means rag picking. So we have already discussed that Simapuri people, the only means of earning money, meager, small amount of money, is rag picking. And through the years, it has acquired the proportions of a fine art. Can we call garbage searching and scrounging as fine art? So this is exaggerating the situation. So we can say hyperbole. The situation is quite exaggerated by calling it a way of fine art. So this is hyperbole. Now, the steel canister seems heavier than the plastic bag he would carry so lightly over his shoulders. Now, the steel canister seems heavier than the plastic bag here is paradox. And even here, she still has bangles on her wrist but not light in her eyes is also a paradoxical situation. Having bangles on her wrist which are symbolic of auspiciousness but yet no light. So paradox. What is paradox, children? Again, contradiction, contradictory situation. Sahib might have expected that he'll be free from the rag picking bag when he'll join some small work. And the steel canister or the tea stall which he joins, which provides him with a steel canister of milk or tea, is heavier than the rag which he used to carry for picking the rags, right? So this way there is a lot of paradox, expectation different from what has been considered, right? So I hope you have understood this. Let me um, make you situation number one, irony. Drowned in an air of desolation. This is a metaphor. And Simapuri, a place on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it, metaphorically, you can mark as antithesis. And then fourth one also as antithesis. Then fifth one as simile. Then next one, few aeroplanes fly over Firozabad as pun. Then web of poverty as metaphor, scrounging for gold metaphor. And 10th one as hyperbole and 11th one as paradox. So different from expectation. I hope you have understood all these figures of speech. And if we read our three points have been given here in the form of notes. Hyperbole is a way of speaking or writing that makes something sound better or more exciting than it really is. For example, garbage to them is gold. So here there is hyperbole also, because garbage here has been considered as gold. So exaggerated situation. Now, a metaphor, as you know, compares two things or ideas that are not very similar. A metaphor describes a thing in the term of single quality or feature of some other thing. We can say that a metaphor transfers a quality of one thing to the another. That road was a ribbon of light, maybe because of street lights, and a ribbon of light. So road has been assumed as ribbon of light. So this is metaphor. Now, like air of desolation. Then simile is a word or phrase that compares one thing with another using the words like or as. For example, as white as snow. So, right here in the fifth one, like the tongs of a machine, is simile. The phrase that tells us that there is simile in these lines is like the tongs of a machine. When she's soldering, Savita is soldering the bangles while sitting with an old woman. Yes. So I hope these figures of speech are clear, and let us continue, dear students, some more points so that we can understand this lesson very nicely and conclude this chapter. Yes. Let us conclude the lesson, dear students. We have completed the question answers, the figures of speech used in various situations and sentences in the lesson, and also the plight of child laborers in India. The chapter as it has discussed. Now, what we have to do is, now what you are going to do is, you're going to do these question answers in the notebook, 4 to 5 questions which have been discussed, along with one article writing with a nice caption on the theme, on the topic of child labor. You're going to do in your notebook, and let us conclude this lesson so that we may have some more ideas for our tasks that are being given to us to do. So, yes, the theme, or you can say lost spring. Spring here is metaphor of life. Spring is the season of merrymaking and cheerfulness. Childhood is also a stage of life for merrymaking and cheerfulness. But children have become victims of child labor and exploitation, losing their cheerfulness, that is childhood. As we have discussed in the lesson also, the most beautiful and pristine period of life is childhood, and child labor deprives them of. So the spring has been used as a metaphor of life. And next, when we move, we find that sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. It is Sahib's story, Sahib-e-Alam. We have already discussed the irony in the situation in the name of Sahib-e-Alam. And moreover, when we move on to the plight of Sahib, when we recapitulate the situation, Sahib has a dream to go to school that remains unfulfilled. Anis Jung is not able to fulfill that dream, and no one else in the world where the fake promises are given to the made to the children, but they are never fulfilled. So, ironically, he is a rag picker. However, he leads a carefree life, but still, ironically, his situation is quite grim. He does not wear footwear and says that it is a tradition to remain barefoot. It is basically due to perpetual state of poverty. He has a dream to wear tennis shoes, play tennis, which is out of his reach. So when we are going to write question answers, they are going to help us. But when we are going to write an article, these points are definitely going to help us. Then settlement at Simapuri. Even you can see the pictures also, and huts, mud houses, the plastic cover as their roof. So tin roofed, tarpaulin, and sanitation, no sanitation, no drinking water, no sewage, and they are compelled to live substandard life in slums. Though on the outskirts of Delhi, they are living a miserable life which is no match with the life in Delhi. They have ration cards to buy grains, and they are the part of vote bank for politicians, but are compelled to lead a miserable life. Both children and elders are rag pickers. So garbage hold different meanings. So this we have already done, right? Now later Sahib works in a tea stall earning 800 rupees, and all his meals he has lost a carefree look. The weight of steel canister is heavier than the plastic bag of rags. The bag was his, but canister belongs to the tea shop owner. Sahib is no more his own master. He has lost his freedom. He might have expected that when he'll be free, he'll rid of the bag when he'll join some work. So we discussed this situation also, but he's now no more that much free, even when he was a rag picker. So then I want to drive a car. A child labor family in profession of bangle making at Firozabad. He's daring. He's different than others. And he wants to shun those age-old miseries and traditional profession of his forefathers. Right? Workers do not even get a square meal a day. Mukesh dreams of becoming a motor mechanic, and he wants to be his own master. Now, working place, right, of bangle makers. So we can include these points in child labor article, that children are made to work in situations where there is no light, poor ventilation, high temperatures, full smoky lanes, bleak world is theirs, and stinking lanes where garbage is stinking badly, and they live in sheds of disintegrating walls and wobbly walls which may fall any time. Their huts are in such a situation, unsteady doors with no ventilation, no windows, and thousands of adults as per the data. You can even include in your article the latest data, which is of child laborers. You can do a little bit of research and create your beautiful article. Then stigma of caste. Mukesh grandmother says that it is their karam, their destiny. They cannot run away from this. It was carried out by their ancestors, and for a long period of time, since a long time, and now they will also have to manage this. They carry out this work even if they do not get one full meal in the entire lifetime. Their eyes have become more adjusted to dark than to the light, and they often end up losing their eyesight. And we also read about Savita, knowing its hidden symbolism when she's working on making bangles. An Indian woman, Suhag, symbol, these bangles are symbol of Suhag. The word Suhag is mentioned in the lesson. She's innocent as she's ignorant about the sanctity of the bangles she helps making, which she's helping in making them. One day when she'll become a bride, she'll realize that. So many children, like thousands of children, millions of children like Savita, Mukesh, and Sahib are in the web of child labor. And as I said, you can do a little bit of research and you can write your article. And moreover, what has been done, they are compelled to lead a substandard, unhealthy, and life full of miseries and troubles, which is a deprived life. Possible hazards, accidents, loss of vision, skin burns, physical and mental weakness, and genetic problems due to adverse working conditions are the plights of child laborers in our country. Mukesh wants to take initiative to change the family trend of bangle making. He is determined and resolute to become a motor mechanic. So what is required? Resolutions are required, but along not only determination alone will work. We need child laborers must be helped, aided by government as well as NGOs, by common people. Awareness must be there and a sensitivity must be there that no child should be deprived of his or her childhood, right? So you can read this if you wish to. Mukesh wants to take the initiative to change the family trend of bangle making. He is determined and resolute to become a motor mechanic, come what may in his way. Mukesh had no dreams of soaring too high like flying a plane and wants only to be in reality. And we know everything, but we stay calm. Are we humans? So you can just have a look at this image and you can make out that how children poorly work as child laborers. Right? Now, I hope you have understood every part of the lesson. And yes, what I want you to do is, I repeat, write an article on child labor. Thank you, dear students. I hope you are safe and sound. Thank you.